At the end of the day, the impulse response is a breakthrough. It is a milestone in the history of the guitar in this aspect of technology. And then, once it was released, everyone adapted. Everyone started accepting these files because they represent a great leap in quality. So nowadays, it's no longer about, oh, the guy with a 300 raise pedal board can only get a crappy sound, while the guy with a pedal board worth thousands of reais gets a much superior sound. If both have impulse responses, knowing that the speaker is the most important element of the guitar tone as a whole, and they load the same file, the quality difference between the two is very comparable. Very comparable.
But then you're talking about speakers, but in this case, is it an external element you're referring to?
No. In the real world, the guitar speaker is the same physical one, Yinko, and in the digital world, it's the speaker simulator, which after the impulse responses came out, you could start using this high-definition file.
In theory, everything is fine, because everyone would have access to similar things. Exactly.
And that's what annoys a lot of people. It's that story, a CUVAVE bothers a lot of people, right?
For that reason, I remember back when the impulse response started coming out that Ola from Hello England, that's right, he did a comparison, right? Because he was playing with a fractal, with an FM8, if I'm not mistaken. And he got, or someone sent him a Helix, the first Helix that came out from line 6. And man, initially, the speaker cabinet, simulations of the Helix were terrible. They probably still are. But here's the thing. Many people complained about it saying, oh, come on, it's bad, it's bad, it's bad.
He went there and put his IR.
He put the same IR he uses on the fractal. Dude, it's the same sound. And there you go, here it is. Because everyone kept complaining. There's the IR, he said. I was showing the equipment with the simulation that comes with it. I have to show how it is. You want sound? Here it is. FM8 and Helix.
It's because, to be fair, it's like comparing, oh, I'm going to compare the sound of a Fender Twin with a Marshall. If you use different speakers, assuming you want to compare just the amplifier, right? Not the speaker. If you put it in different amplifiers, it's like comparing orange juice with apple juice.
You must use same speaker.
The same speaker.
With the same microphone in the same position, everything the same.
And if you use the same cabinet with the same speaker, with the same microphone in the same position, you'll see that the sound isn't that different. It is different. It changes. I'm not saying it doesn't change. It's just the least important part. Van Halen used to say that what matters most in guitar sound, output transformer and speaker. What is the output transformer? It's the amp's response, and the speaker is a filter. It filters.
And there's this quad cortex, Kemper, etc. It also has various snapshots of different moments. You can change things millimetrically.
Millimetrically position of microphone.
It's as if the guy took 100 photos. There, right, man? With each movement there, exactly. In practice, that's what the guy did, isn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly it. So there's this issue of impulse response. The impulse response is this photo. Profiling 2. You connect your amplifier, connect your Kemper to the amplifier, and it will profile the amp. It's taking a picture of the sound of that amplifier with that setting. This profiling can be done from the pure amplifier or the mic'd amplifier. If it's from the mic'd amplifier, it's a picture of that amplifier with that setting, with that cabinet he mentions, with that microphone in that position.
Which brand was the first to use IR, do you know?
None of them. IR is a reverb technology.
But who used it for effects, for multi-effects?
The first company to use IR in a big way, if I'm not mistaken, was Kemper.
It was indeed Kemper?
If I'm not mistaken, I might be wrong. Again, I don't remember this kind of detail, but I believe it was Kemper. The Quad Cortex released the same thing that Kemper does, but in the Quad Cortex, it's called neural capture. In Kemper's, it's called profiling because the amplifier is called Kemper, profiler. So, everything we're talking about, whether it's impulse response, profiling, or neural capture, are nothing more than snapshots of real equipment that have been captured, each in its own way, and so on, and are faithfully reproduced in the digital world Why is one IR so different from another? Why is one neural capture so different from another, and so on? Because each musician has a preference. So, if you give me a twin, a Fender, up, which is very clean, I'll say, Andy, capture it. And if they give you the same twin and say, Mateus, capture it, né? And no one tells you how the sound should be, they say, just do it the way you like, you'll set it up one way. I'll set it up another. And when you compare the two neural captures or the two profilings, it might not even seem like the same amps. Because you'll set it at a volume you like with your BB preamp, which I know you use in front of the amplifier. Yes, to get your compression, your dirt. And I'll set the twin at 8. Got it. You know.
I also have something weird like that, because you have your amp at home, I have mine. The experience of the amp at home is an experience. It's just that, man. There aren't 20 different experiences of positions of the... Another thing is the amp in my other room mic'd up, and I'll listen to it here on my headphones after a recording. Then, my friend, you've entered a completely different world.
Wormhole.
Dived
in. And the big issue here is also the following. There's a lot of talk about, I would like an honest review of a pedal because I would like to hear the sound of the room. I say, the sound of the room doesn't exist. Because the sound of which room? Mine or yours. It starts there, right? And secondly, it's because the Guns N' Roses album has that guitar sound, which isn't the sound of the room. It's a 57 right at the amp. So, for the purists who love to say they enjoy putting on a record or opening a video on YouTube and like to hear the sound of the room, I say, you've been fooled. Maybe by yourselves, but you are mistaken because the sound of the room doesn't exist. The sound is always captured through a microphone. It could be the microphone of a cell phone, but it's a microphone positioned in relation to the speaker that's recording so you can hear it after it's recorded. So, that's it.
But then, in your opinion, what would be the difference between a CUVAVE and a quad CORTEX?
First, processing potential. The CUVAVE has an amplifier, the impulse response, a little reverb, and an effect. In the quad CORTEX, I can connect 4 amplifier simulations at the same time, or connect 4 musicians to the same pedal board.
Okay, but for a guy who's at home, that's kind of irrelevant, right?
It's like wanting a shotgun to kill a rabbit.
Yeah, but let's say for a guy who's at home recording daily, even an amateur musician often wants to record a video with good quality and put it on YouTube.
He can buy a cheaper pedal board, which will fit.
Make the most of life. Let's go.
To start, the CUVAVE is great, because it even works as an audio interface when connected to a phone.
It has Bluetooth?
It has Bluetooth. I can listen to music or learn music practice. I practice with my CUVAVE. It stays in my guitar bag.
Okay, but what comes as default in the CUVAVE? What do you think, which isn't...
It's better than a lot of things we grew up testing, right? Like the Sound 5052, those things, right? It's much better, but it's still not there. The thing is, if you add some marketing alert, the cool impulse responses in the CUVAVE, you'll have an impressive quality, especially considering it costs $45 new. Right. It's really scary what technology is bringing, right? Again, it's popularizing and democratizing. If you like my sounds, as a rule, you'll like my IRs, right? Because I value definition a lot, I value the positioning of the guitar in the mix a lot, being a trained audio engineer and working, not only with live sound, but also with recording. I take all of this into consideration. It's even a funny thing, right? Because my IRs, every cabinet has 4 different mic placements. The 1 is brighter, the 4 is bassier, and the 2 and 3 are intermediate. Everyone who plays at home chooses the 4. When it goes to the stage, they pick the 2, the 1, maybe the 3, because they are brighter and help the guitar stand out more in the mix or position better in the mix. Again, it's all about context.
So, in theory, the guy goes with your IRs, there's one with wave.
And can have an amazing guitar sound.
He will have a sound similar to what you would have on your quad CORTEX.
90%. I say this with confidence because I've already done this test. What is the quad CORTEX besides everything? A million effects, a million pedals, a million compressors and reverbs and delays and everything else, which is something the CUVAVE doesn't have. It's much more limited.
But the effects that the CUVAVE has are pretty bad.
They're weak.
So you're saying that the CUVAVE would be more for impulse response, for you to have a more responsive amplifier sound. Is that it?
Yes. I've even used it live, actually, to pretend to test. Let's see how far it goes. I got a CSS preamp from Tony Inc., which I love this CSS.
I have it too. That little black one, right?
Which is a twin, right? It's a Fender twin, right? It doesn't distort. I used its pre-out output, which doesn't have the cabinet simulation. I connected it to the CUVAVE. CUVAVE, just loading the impulse response. And I sent it to the mixer, and in front of them was a little pedal board with 2 drives, a little delay, a little something. Man, the sound was there. Super authentic guitar sound, believable, right? Incredible. The sound guy liked it because it was direct, right? I didn't bother anyone. There was no loud amplifier and all that. It works. If you want something beyond that, for the CUVAVE, for the stage, I don't recommend it. Because really, the amp simulations aren't that great. It's a little noisy, the effects aren't great. But if you have an analog pedal board with cool sounds, well chosen, well tuned, and you run it through an external preamp like the CSS in front of the CUVAVE, you can get a direct sound without breaking the bank or buying a multi-effects pedal. As a study tool, the CUVAVE is perfect. I plug in the headphones during breaks at MI, between classes when I have free time. I go to the passage to the entrance of MI, sit there with my guitar, plug the guitar into the CUVAVE, headphones into the CUVAVE, cell phone, Bluetooth, play music I need to learn, a backing track to practice, a metronome without bothering anyone. Great tool. Truth is, it's bitter for many people, but it is what it is.
Thank you for watching this segment of the Starling Cast. You can watch the full episode here in the video description. And take the opportunity, if you're a guitarist, to join the largest virtual school in Brazil, exclusive for guitarists, by clicking on the QR code or in the video description. I'll be waiting for you there.